What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back once more to VEGA Conflict. What I have in store for you all today is a little featurette, more or less, focusing and beginning the introduction of a short set of series to the channel, and they will be focusing on newer technology as well as further explaining it or resolving issues that I may have said in the past that just weren't true about certain ships. Today's focus is going to be about the Umbra, and very specifically, their Wraith Cruiser. My fitting for it, as well as the statistics, as well as how I think it is in the game currently, as well as potential support fittings for ships that it will be escorting. Right now, mine currently has the lockdown fitting, and I'll explain that in another video. For now, I'll go over the statistics, the current fitting, as well as show a little bit of gameplay shortly after as I talk about it in more detail. Well, in a little bit more of a general sense. But the fleet damage per second is only 1081. That is fairly low in comparison to, say, a Bastion that's fully fitted with either Xeno weaponry or alternatively just standard energy weapons, especially cannon weapons. Fleet health, 25,845. That isn't the best, but that isn't the worst. I have Bastions with more health than that, but none of them have 4 hours repair time for that beautiful amount of health. The fleet's ablative armor, it has 17,500 hit points of ablative armor, and it only gets better if it strips your shields or alternatively your ablative layer off, because it will be able to regenerate that very quickly. Cargo, 6,778,620 tons. It can carry quite a bit. Sector speed, 390 astronomical units per hour. Repair time, 4 hours, 13 seconds. Now let's go over the fitting. First off, this fitting can change, and it will change as I build better and better versions of this ship, but right now this is what I have. 2 ablative armors, level 2. 1 ablative armor, level 3. 3 Thonian armor, level 1. Harmonic chase thrusters 3. Harmonic beam capacitor 3. 2 Blight Nova cannon, level 3s. 1 Blight Nova cannon, level 2, and an arrestor beam, level 3. Let's take a look at the resistors. Anodized, naturally. And that is for a bit of energy as well as kinetic resistance. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. What else is this little puppy packing? Well, it's packing 100% increased reload or recharge time to enemy ships that it destroys the shielding or the ablative layer, and it just makes it so that they're going to be firing half as fast as they were before, because it's doubling the amount of time it takes for them to fully charge up or fully reload. On top of that, it is gaining a massive buff to the amount of ablative armor it regenerates per shot. But that's going to be it for me actively explaining exactly what the fitting is, but this again, once more, is my current lockdown fitting. The other fitting is simply replacing the arrestor beam with a net torpedo and going for more of a cluster, but in this case, it's very specifically meant to focus on one target, hold it still, so that something such as the Medusa with the with the atomic drivers can pick them apart, because the atomic driver misses because it's far too slow. In this case, the ship is typically held still, so it can receive the support fire it needs. But that's going to be it for this little bit of the first part of the showcase. I'll go ahead and I'll take you in the second part, and this is going to be the last thing I'm going to say for the most part. So, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below in the comments section. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. And as always, everybody, be safe out there in the void, and I'll see you real soon. The Wraith is the standard frontline brawling cruiser for the Umbra faction. Its ability to mitigate, lower, and outright absorb foes' damage for the rest of the fleet should not be understated. Its primary sources of defense are its ablative armor, resistance, and standard armor. Its secondary defense comes in the form of its culling overdrive, which grants its weapons the ability to increase the charge and cooldown time for weapons of any vessel they impact by 50%, increasing to a 100% increase. It also grants increased regeneration of its ablative layer by 40 points, recovered with normal weapons, and 40 bonus points recovered if blight weapons are used, up to 200 points recovered with normal weapons, and 200 bonus points recovered with blight weapons through damage dealt. As the cruiser of the Umbra faction, the Wraith will be on the front line for most of your fleet and enable them to cause damage from a safe distance. This does not mean it is not capable of fighting for itself. It does carry an armament that can be quite lethal if necessary or if cornered. It is also quick enough to reposition during combat to better prevent opponents from bypassing it to attack the vessels that can't take much damage and keep fighting as easily without the risk of destruction. Its culling overdrive in combination with stasis weapons also gives it quite an impressive capacity to lock down enemy vessels, making them much easier to destroy with slower moving projectile weapons, for instance the atomic driver. The reduced rate of damage output from enemy vessels while under the effect of the culling overdrive means that you will take damage at a slower rate as well, effectively reducing damage received for the duration of the effect. The Wraith is far from unstoppable though. It can be easily slowed down with net torpedoes on battleships, or arrestor beams with focused optics, or any other energy range increasing specials on destroyers, then destroyed from a safe distance using a carrier, battleships, and or destroyers. An arrestor beam on an opposing cruiser can also be utilized to lock down and slip past and move into the blind spot behind the vessel and easily destroy it with very little sort of retaliation from the Wraith. The Wraith, along with most of the Umbra faction, suffer from a lack of specials for their faction that affect blight weapons. This lack of specials means that the blight versions of weapons may or will suffer from lower range than their standard counterparts due to the range increasing specials, and lower range flight speed of the blight atomic driver over the standard atomic driver, again due to the lack of specials that affect blight weaponry.